Creativa Youth Hub, a new platform for youth to express their creativity and develop innovative solutions to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, has been launched in Lagos. Put together by Creative Youth Community Development Initiative, CYCDI targets 17 undergraduates and graduates between the ages of 18 and 35 who are able to come up with 17 SDG-based ideas to solve unemployment. Our correspondent Yomi Otaigbe reports.
This model was developed to prefer solutions.
How to find solutions to the challenges facing decent work and economic growth in Nigeria, and by extension Africa, is the crux of this gathering organized by Creative Youth Community Development Initiative, CYCDI. Guests from within and outside Nigeria, including Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka, are here to contribute their quota to the debate.
It is about time.
Some of the consulting team members of the CYCDI set the tone for the event by sharing some of the activities of the organization and why it's time for Nigerians to take charge and deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals.
CYCDI has promoted the Sustainable Development Goals over the past years through active learning, creative development, innovation, and entrepreneurship in children, youth, and women.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen,
how Nigerians at different levels, including the public and private sectors, can contribute towards job creation takes center stage during panel discussions.
Coordinates the fireside chat from here.
For Professor Wole Soyinka, the youth need to do more than what they do presently.
Complain, grumble, grumble, grumble. Minor this, Ganduje this, Mantu this, and Wole Soyinka hasn't spoken. I said, Wole Soyinka is doing other things. You, why did you come out? Carry a placard. I said, carry a placard saying, fumigate, Buhari gate. Ah. He said, Prof, they will arrest us all.
So you should...
No, so let them arrest you. I said, that's welcoming. I said, Femi Falana is there. He and I will come hand in hand. We'll come and bail you out. But at least you go first. It's about time.
The CEO and project director at CYCDI, Foluke Michael, calls on undergraduates and graduates between 18 and 35 years to visit the Creativa Youth Hub IC 2030 online registration portal.
we want to discover potential that each and every one of us are born to do. And we are narrowing that to unemployment. Imagine that we have 80% of our youth gainfully employed. Then you're going to be talking about decent work and promotion of economic growth.
And that's the IC 2030 Creative Youth Hub logo. Ladies and gentlemen.
Solution 17 IC 2030 is hinged on youth development through education, creativity and innovation to tackle problems and their effects, while also creating solutions towards a healthy and sustainable planet. From Lagos, Yomi Otaigbe, Channels Television News.
One of Nigeria's leading oil and gas engineering, procurement, construction and commissioning company, Nest Oil Group, wants the federal government to invest more in the gas infrastructure sector. The executive director of Nest Oil says that crude oil is declining globally in terms of economic value. And he represents the group managing director of the company and says that the conference was called on the federal government to allow market forces to determine the cost of gas for the benefits of the nation's economy.
Nest Oil Group prides itself as the largest indigenous engineering, procurement, construction and commissioning company in the nation's oil and gas sector.
Our speakers and our panel members here today.
At the 2019 Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference, the group sponsored the spotlight session, and the executive director, who spoke on behalf of the group managing director of the company, shared his thoughts on the nation's oil and gas sector.
You must let the regulation create a playing field that supports private companies to do what they know how to do best, build businesses. The same thing must be applied for us to have gas work in this country. We have to take a different approach to how we do things. We must start to look at our regulations and get innovative about how do we do it.
His position is shared by the outgoing Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. Mekenti Baru, who made his last appearance at the conference.
Promoting investment requires stability in regulatory framework, clarity in terms of fiscal direction and reforms, access to capital, and more importantly, effective and efficient deployment of both capital and human resources.
Since its establishment in 1991, the company has built over 300 kilometers of pipelines and several flow stations.
We're bringing the local knowledge, the local know-how of how to do things in this environment, because face it, doing business in the Niger Delta is really tough. And Nestor has mastered how to do business in the Niger Delta, in spite of militancy, in spite of the tough terrain, to get things done. So we are part and parcel of developing the Gas Master Plan, and that's one of the ways that this country is going to grow.
Named in 2017 by the London Stock Exchange as one of the companies to inspire Africa, Nest Oil Group continues to redefine industry standards in pipeline construction, repairs, and maintenance of oil and gas facilities.
Inadequate working capital and stiff competition from large companies are some of the challenges that small and medium enterprises have to contend with. Fidelity Bank PLC wants to help solve this problem with a unique platform, the Fidelity Bank SME Connect, that will bring founders and funders together in mutually beneficial relationships.
It's going to be brief.
Staff of Fidelity Bank PLC and technical partners, PricewaterhouseCoopers, are here to introduce not a new product, but a platform, Fidelity Bank SME Connect, to help small businesses access easy funds to sustain their enterprises. Funding entrepreneurs is not a novel venture for the bank, but this is different.
We're trying to solve their funding needs by giving them the cheapest available funds that can be in the country. We're going to have the providers on the one side, we're going to have those that need the funds on the other side, and we're going to have those who have actually experienced this availability of these funds in between.
The intensive one-day event will take place after 3,000 participants in key sectors such as manufacturing and agriculture have been narrowed down to 5 finalists in a grants competition.
This issue around funding is not so much of the funds not being available. It's also whether the SME has been positioned or has positioned his or her business, to become attractive to people who have these pools of funds that they are looking to give out to SMEs.
The company is making an app available on the Play Store to facilitate participants' registration.
There are also going to be sections on that app where you can chat with a representative of the bank.
You can bring in fresh money and the money goes down the drain again. So we'll continue to handhold them and hold quarterly or semi-annually reviews of what the business is doing, because we're also responsible to the PE venture capital people and the PE firms, because we are the ones that put the two of them together. So we owe them a fiduciary duty to ensure that the funds don't go down.
The grand finale, which is billed for August 7th, will see participants receiving grants ranging from 1 to 4 million naira. The platform then moves to Kano and Rivers states.
Well, it's time now for business news on the News at 10 with Melinda Kilami.
You first. First Bank.
Many thanks, Gimba. Welcome to Business News. The chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Professor Bolaji Onwasonoye, says the commission plans to work with the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, to recover 5 trillion naira owed by obligators. He made the declaration when he received the AMCON delegation led by the corporation's board chairman, Dr. Muiz Banire, at the ICPC headquarters, and described the huge debt profile of AMCON as a serious situation, especially as the figure represents about 50% of the country's 2019 budget. Both parties highlighted some of the high-profile debtors of the corporation, including some 350 individuals that account for 80% of the entire debt obligation. Nigeria is a major beneficiary of the China-Africa relations, with over $30 billion from China invested in Nigeria's infrastructure over the past few years. And this is according to the Chinese ambassador to South Africa. Mr. Ling Song-Tang, who spoke to our South African correspondent in Johannesburg on major projects China has had in Nigeria, reiterated his country's commitment to help Nigeria build coastal railways.
Proud to say, Nigeria become the most beneficial country in the continent to benefit from China and China-African cooperation. Because according to my statistic, in the past few years, more than $30 billion from China has gone to Nigeria in the name of concessional law and commercial law to build two railway in your country. I forgot the name, but it's already put into operation. His Excellency President Buhari, he experienced the best quality in the continent, the railway, finalized and built by China too. And we committed ourselves to help Nigeria to build the coastal railway. You can imagine that coastal railway will cost China more than $10 billion. But you can mean more than 1,000 kilometers along the coastal line. And if the railway never built, you can imagine, whoever want to drive the industrialization, you have no choice. You cannot depend on the railway. And the highway, you must build the railway.
The domestic stock market maintains its losing streak for the third straight trading session today, following moderate profit-taking in the oil and gas as well as the banking blue-chip equities. Layo Adegoke tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Losses from key components of the oil and gas and the banking sector pushed the NSE's main index further into negative territory today, despite strong gains from their industrial goods counterpart. Price load shared from high-value stocks such as Mobil, Total, FBN Holdings, UBA and Zenith led to marginal 0.07 drop in the general index and nearly 10 billion naira decline in overall market value. The share price of Agro-Light company Morrison Industry tops the list of 23 losers with a 10% drop, while Buck Gases led 11 other gainers up by 9.93%. Meanwhile, total volume of shares traded for Wednesday increased by more than 30 million units from the previous session to 237.71 million in over 4,100 transactions, largely driven by trading in the shares of Morrison Industries due to strategic positioning by major investors in the company. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Now let's find out how other major global indexes ended Wednesday's session. That's Business News. It's back to you, Gimba.
You first. First Bank.
And still ahead on the news at 10, outrage trails killing of 44 migrants on the detention facility in Libya. That's coming from our London bureau in Around the World in 5 minutes. Stay with us.